She's too big. Those were the first words I ever heard Adrian Cole say about me. And for 3 full seconds, I forgot how to breathe. I was standing outside the private lounge of the Grand Meridian Hotel with a silver tray balanced against my palm, 12 champagne glasses trembling beneath the chandeliers, while Manhattan glittered 40 floors below us. At 27, I'd worked enough catering jobs to know the rules. Smile. Stay invisible. Never react when wealthy people discuss you as though you're furniture. But invisible had never been easy for me. I was 5'7", full-figured, and painfully aware that the fitted black uniform looked different on me than it did on the other servers. I'd spent years teaching myself that taking up space wasn't something requiring an apology. Then a stranger said 4 words behind a half-open door, and suddenly I was 17 again, pretending comments didn't hurt. Not her. The same deep voice continued. She's too big. Another man answered quietly. You're sure? Absolutely. I kept walking before I could hear anything else. That was my first mistake. My second was looking through the doorway. Adrian Cole stood beside the window with one hand in his pocket, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. Early 30s. Dark hair. Pale gray eyes. Completely still while everyone around him seemed to orbit his silence. I'd served CEOs, politicians, celebrities, and men who tipped $100 bills because they liked being watched doing it. Adrian was different. He didn't demand attention. The room simply gave it to him. Our eyes met. I looked away first. Claire. My supervisor's voice snapped me back. Table 7 needs champagne. Got it. I crossed the ballroom, forcing my shoulders straight. Crystal chandeliers spilled warm light over marble floors. A string quartet played near the staircase. Women in gowns laughed beside men wearing watches worth more than my car. I poured champagne and reminded myself why I was there. Rent. My mother's medical bills. The community college classes I was taking 1 semester at a time. Real things. Important things. Things bigger than one stranger's opinion. Then I heard a sharp voice behind me. Are you incapable of following simple instructions? A young server named Lily stood frozen beside a table, her face burning red while a silver-haired guest stared at a tiny splash of water near his plate. I'm sorry, sir, she whispered. Sorry doesn't clean my jacket. Lily couldn't have been older than 19. Her hands were shaking. I knew that look. I stepped beside her. I'll take care of the jacket, sir. His eyes moved over my uniform. Did I ask you? No. I smiled politely. But you're speaking to my coworker like she spilled water on purpose, and she didn't. The nearby conversation softened. Lily stared at me. The man leaned back. Do you know who I am? No, sir. I placed a clean napkin beside his glass. But I know who she is. She's a person. Silence. The kind that gets people fired. My stomach dropped, but I didn't take the words back. Then I felt it. Someone watching me. I turned toward the private lounge. Adrian Cole stood exactly where I'd left him. Except now he wasn't talking. He was looking directly at me. Not at my uniform. Not at the tray in my hands. At me. I lifted my chin, refusing to shrink beneath his stare. His expression didn't change, but something in those pale eyes did. Recognition, maybe. Interest. I couldn't tell. All I knew was that 10 minutes earlier, I'd heard him dismiss me with 4 words I wished I could forget. She's too big. So why, for the rest of that night, did the most powerful man in the room seem completely unable to look away? For the next 20 minutes, I tried to convince myself Adrian Cole had stopped watching me. He had not. Every time I crossed the ballroom, I felt his attention follow me through the warm chandelier light. It was not the careless stare I was used to receiving from certain guests. It felt more like observation. Quiet. Precise. Somehow that made it worse. I kept working. Lily whispered a thank you near the service station, and I told her to forget about it. I was carrying an empty tray toward the kitchen when my supervisor appeared in front of me. Claire, Mr. Cole wants to speak with you. My stomach tightened. About what? He did not tell me. Of course he did not. Powerful men rarely explain themselves before summoning people. I handed over my tray and followed my supervisor across the ballroom. Guests moved aside as we approached Adrian's table. He was alone now, seated beneath a wall of windows overlooking Manhattan. Up close, he seemed even more controlled. No restless fingers. No checking his phone. No need to prove he belonged there. Miss Bennett, he said. I stopped. How do you know my name? His eyes flicked toward my name tag. Heat climbed into my face. Right. Obviously. Something almost resembling amusement touched his expression. Almost. Sit. I remained standing. I am working. Your supervisor said you could take 5 minutes. I glanced behind me. My supervisor had already disappeared. Convenient. Adrian studied me for a moment. Do you always speak to powerful men that way? There it was. The question I had expected. I folded my hands in front of me. Only when they forget waitresses are people. Silence settled between us. Adrian leaned back slightly. You believe that man forgot? He asked Lily whether she was capable of following simple instructions because she spilled 2 ounces of water. You measured it? I am estimating. That almost smile appeared again. And if defending her had cost you this job? That landed harder than I wanted it to. Losing this job would hurt. I needed every shift, every tip, every dollar. But I thought about Lily standing there with shaking hands. Then I would find another job. Just like that. No, not just like that. I would probably panic in my car for 20 minutes, calculate my rent 3 different ways, eat cereal for dinner for a month, and then find another job. Adrian stared at me. For once, I could not read him. You are unusual, Claire Bennett. My chest tightened at the sound of my name in his voice. I remembered the private lounge. The words I was trying not to remember. I am sure you have already formed an opinion about me. His gaze sharpened. What does that mean? Nothing. I stepped backward. Are we finished? Before he could answer, a man in a navy suit approached and bent close to Adrian. We have a problem. Adrian's entire expression changed. The faint warmth vanished. His eyes moved past me toward the terrace doors. I followed his gaze and noticed 2 men leaving the ballroom separately, 30 seconds apart. Something about them felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly. Secretive. Adrian stood. Claire. Yes. Go back to work. It should have sounded dismissive. Instead, it sounded like a warning. I should have listened. I really should have. But 10 minutes later, when I pushed through the wrong service door looking for extra champagne glasses, I heard one of those men whisper Adrian Cole's name, followed by a time, a location, and 5 words that made me stop breathing. He cannot know until midnight. I should have backed away from that door. Instead, I stayed perfectly still, one hand wrapped around the cold metal handle while voices drifted through the narrow service corridor. Midnight is the deadline, the first man said. Cole thinks everyone in that ballroom is loyal. The second man gave a quiet laugh. Let him keep thinking that. My pulse quickened. I did not know what they were planning. I only knew Adrian was involved, and judging by their whispers, he was not supposed to know. I started stepping backward. Slowly. 1 foot, then another. My shoe caught the edge of an abandoned serving cart. A spoon slipped from the top shelf and struck the tile with a bright metallic clang. The conversation stopped. Completely. I froze. The service door opened. The man in the navy suit from the ballroom appeared first. His expression changed when he saw me. You. I forced a confused smile. Sorry. I was looking for champagne glasses. His companion stepped beside him. How long were you standing there? About 3 seconds. You heard us. I heard something about midnight. I assumed you were discussing where to get pizza after the gala. Neither man smiled. I tightened my grip on the empty tray. I should get back to work. The navy-suited man moved into the corridor, blocking the easiest path toward the ballroom. Wait. Every instinct in me said not to argue. So naturally, I argued. My supervisor already thinks I disappear too often. Unless you want to explain why table 7 has no champagne, I really need to go. Claire. Adrian's voice came from behind me. I turned so quickly, I nearly dropped the tray. He stood at the opposite end of the corridor with the same calm expression he had worn all evening, but the air around him felt different now. Colder. Focused. The 2 men went silent. Adrian looked at them, then at me. Is there a problem? No problem, the man in navy answered. Adrian's gaze settled on the way he was standing between me and the ballroom. Then move. He did. Immediately. That frightened me more than if Adrian had raised his voice. He never needed to. I stepped toward him, and Adrian positioned himself between me and the other men without touching me. She is with me, he said. My head snapped toward him. I am what? Walk. I am not one of your employees. Claire. His voice softened by half a degree. Please. That single word stopped me. Not because it was commanding, because it was the first time he had asked me for anything. We returned to the ballroom, where music and laughter continued as though the service corridor belonged to another universe. Adrian led me toward a quiet alcove near the windows. Tell me exactly what you heard. Why? Because you walked into something you do not understand. Then help me understand it. His jaw tightened. Not here. I crossed my arms. I heard your name. Midnight. Something about you believing everyone here is loyal. His eyes changed. Barely. But I saw it. Anything else? No. That was almost true. Who were those men? People I trusted. The past tense did not escape me. Adrian glanced across the ballroom. You are leaving. I stared at him. Excuse me. Your shift is over. My shift ends at 1 in the morning. Tonight it ends now. Anger replaced fear so quickly it surprised even me. You cannot decide that. I already spoke to your supervisor. Of course you did. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. You do not get to rearrange my life because you are accustomed to people obeying you. For the first time that night, Adrian looked genuinely caught off guard. This is not about control. It certainly sounds like it. It is about keeping you away from something that has nothing to do with you. I held his gaze. It became my business when your trusted people cornered me in a hallway. Silence stretched between us. Then Adrian exhaled slowly. Fine. You are right. I blinked. What? Do not make me say it twice. Despite myself, I almost smiled. He looked toward the hotel entrance, then back at me. May I make a suggestion instead? You may. Let my driver take you home. No. Claire. You asked. His mouth tightened. And you answered. See? We are learning. Something almost warm flickered across his face. Then his eyes shifted over my shoulder, and it vanished. The man in the navy suit was standing across the ballroom, watching us. Adrian stepped closer, his voice dropping. Then stay beside me until we figure out why the people who betrayed my trust are suddenly interested in you. Staying beside Adrian Cole sounded simple until I realized everyone else in the ballroom understood what it meant better than I did. Conversations softened when we passed. People who had ignored me for hours suddenly noticed my face. Adrian noticed that too. Do not look at them, he said quietly. I was not. You counted 3 people staring at you in the last 10 seconds. I looked at him. Do you always analyze everyone? Usually. That sounds exhausting. It is useful. He guided me toward a private sitting room off the main ballroom, then stopped at the doorway instead of assuming I would follow. May we talk somewhere quieter? The question surprised me. 20 minutes earlier, he would have simply told me where to go. 5 minutes, I said. Inside, the music faded to a distant hum. Warm lamps reflected against dark wood, and Manhattan spread beyond the windows in thousands of white lights. Adrian remained near the door while I stayed beside a leather chair. Start again, he said. Everything you heard. I repeated the conversation exactly as I remembered it. Midnight. Loyalty. His name. Adrian listened without interrupting. When I finished, he looked toward the city. You remembered every word. Waiting tables teaches you to remember things while pretending you are not listening. That is a dangerous skill tonight. Apparently working catering is more exciting than advertised. He almost smiled. Then I remembered why I was angry. There is something else. His attention returned to me. What? I folded my arms. You do not get to insult me and then decide where I work, when I leave, or how I get home. Confusion crossed his face. Insult you. Do not pretend you forgot. Claire, I genuinely do not know what you mean. Heat rose into my cheeks, but I refused to retreat. Earlier, outside this room, I heard you talking about me. His expression became still. What exactly did you hear? I hated how vulnerable the answer made me feel. You said I was too big. Silence. Adrian stared at me. Not embarrassed. Not amused. Something closer to realization. Claire. Save it. You misunderstood. I gave a short laugh. That sentence has rescued arrogant men for generations. That is not what I meant. Then what did you mean? His mouth opened. Before he could answer, someone knocked. A man in a dark suit entered, keeping his voice low. Mr. Cole, the 2 guests from the service corridor have left the hotel. We also found something you should see. Adrian's attention sharpened. Where? Security office. He nodded, then looked back at me. We are not finished. I am. I reached for the door. Claire, wait. I stopped but did not turn. You heard part of a conversation. I heard enough. No. His voice was quiet now. You heard the part that hurt you. That made me face him. For 1 second, neither of us spoke. He looked almost frustrated, but not with me. Then explain it. Adrian glanced toward the man waiting at the door, then back at me. Whatever had happened tonight was moving faster than either of us wanted. I will, he said. But first I need to know why those men were watching you. And there it is again. What? You deciding what comes first? His expression changed. I stepped into the hallway. I am going home. That may not be safe. You do not know where I live. I can find out. I stared at him. That is exactly the kind of sentence that makes normal people uncomfortable. Adrian actually looked ashamed. Fair point. I pressed the elevator button. Good night, Adrian. The doors opened. Before I stepped inside, his voice stopped me. Claire. I looked back. He stood beneath the warm hallway lights, powerful enough to make an entire ballroom adjust around him, yet strangely uncertain about one waitress refusing his instructions. I was not talking about your body, he said. My hand tightened around my purse. Then what were you talking about? The elevator doors began closing between us. Adrian took one step forward. You. The doors shut before he could say anything more. The elevator carried me down 40 floors, but Adrian's unfinished answer followed me the entire way. You. One word. That was all he had given me. By the time the doors opened into the marble lobby, I was angry with him, angry with myself, and especially angry that I cared enough to keep wondering what he meant. Outside, Manhattan had disappeared beneath steady rain. Yellow cabs moved through the avenue while headlights smeared across wet pavement. I pulled out my phone to order a ride. No signal. Perfect, I whispered. The lobby lights flickered once, then twice. Half the hotel went dark. Emergency lights came on a second later, painting everything in muted gold. Guests murmured behind me. I heard footsteps approaching and knew who it was before he spoke. Your timing is impressive. I turned. Adrian had removed his suit jacket and carried it over one arm, but somehow he still looked more composed than everyone around us. Are you following me? I came downstairs because the security system lost power. Less romantic. More believable. His eyebrow lifted. You thought I was being romantic? Do not get excited. A hotel employee hurried toward him and quietly explained that the outage affected several blocks. Adrian listened, then looked through the glass doors at the rain. The elevators are offline, and the garage gates are locked until the backup system resets. So I am trapped in a luxury hotel. Tragic. You make jokes when you are nervous. You analyze people when you are nervous. That stopped him. I am not nervous. Of course not. We ended up in a small lounge near the lobby because there was nowhere else to go. Without the chandeliers, the hotel felt strangely ordinary. No glitter. No spectacle. Just rain against glass and the soft hum of emergency power. Adrian sat across from me instead of beside me. I noticed that. He was learning distance. Why does what I said bother you so much? He asked. I looked toward the window. You really want to know? Yes. I took a breath. Because I have heard versions of it my entire life. Too big for the dress. Too big for the photograph. Too noticeable. Too much. People say things and forget them 5 minutes later. The person hearing them does not always get that luxury. Adrian said nothing. So I continued. Men like you probably never think about that. Men like me. Powerful men. People listen when you speak. That means your words weigh more whether you intend them to or not. His gaze dropped briefly. You think I enjoy that power. Do you not? Sometimes. The honesty surprised me. And sometimes. He looked toward the darkened lobby. Sometimes I wonder whether anyone around me is agreeing because I am right or because they are afraid to disagree. I studied him. For the first time, Adrian Cole did not look like the man who controlled every room. He looked tired. Human. That sounds lonely. His eyes returned to mine. It is useful. That was not what I said. A quiet breath escaped him, almost a laugh. No, it was not. Rain tapped steadily against the windows. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Adrian leaned forward, resting his hands loosely together. Claire, what you heard upstairs was not about your appearance. You keep saying that. Because it is true. Then tell me what it was about. He hesitated. I saw the answer there, close enough to reach, but something stopped him. Not yet. I stood. Then stop asking me to trust an explanation you refuse to give. He rose too, but stayed several feet away. Fair. That word surprised me more than an apology would have. Then his phone lit up. He read the message, and every trace of softness disappeared from his face. What happened? I asked. Adrian looked at me for a long moment. Security reviewed the hallway footage. My stomach tightened. And those men were not watching you because you overheard them. Then why? He turned the phone toward me. On the screen was a still image from earlier that evening. The navy-suited man was speaking to someone near the ballroom entrance. Someone I recognized immediately. My supervisor. Adrian lowered the phone. Claire, whatever started tonight began before you ever opened that service door. I stared at the security image until the faces stopped looking like people and started looking like pieces of a puzzle. My supervisor, Daniel Mercer, stood beside the man in the navy suit near the ballroom entrance. Their posture was casual. Too casual. Daniel had spent the entire evening pretending he barely noticed the guests unless they needed something. When was this taken? I asked. 7:43, Adrian said. I remembered exactly where I had been then. That was before the gala officially started. Adrian nodded. Which means Daniel was not talking to him because of anything I overheard. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Exactly. He started toward the security office. I followed. Claire, stay here. I stopped. You were doing so well. He turned back. This is not a debate. Then you have learned nothing. For a second, frustration crossed his face. Then he exhaled. Fine. Come with me. The security office was smaller than I expected, crowded with monitors showing hallways, elevators, service entrances, and dark sections of the hotel. Daniel was nowhere on any current feed. Adrian's security manager pulled up footage from earlier. I watched Daniel enter the catering office, leave 6 minutes later, then meet the navy-suited man near a service elevator. Adrian leaned closer to the screen. Fine, Mercer. His voice had changed. Quiet. Final. I looked at the footage again. Something bothered me. Wait. Nobody moved. I pointed toward the screen. Go back. The security manager glanced at Adrian. Adrian nodded. The footage reversed. There. I pointed at Daniel's hand. He was carrying a white envelope when he entered the office. When he came out, it was gone. Check the office. Adrian looked at me. Why? Because Daniel never uses that room during events. He complains the lock sticks, and he keeps everything at the service station. Adrian's security manager left immediately. 2 minutes later, he returned carrying the envelope. Inside were printed schedules, staff assignments, and a guest access list. Adrian's name had been marked beside a private meeting scheduled for midnight. This is enough, Adrian said. Cancel the meeting. Remove Mercer from the building. Wait. Adrian looked at me. Again. Look at the staff assignments. I took the page carefully. My name had been circled. Beside it was one handwritten note. Private lounge rotation. My stomach tightened. Daniel assigned me there. Adrian's expression hardened. Then Mercer planned this. No. Claire. Think about it. If Daniel wanted me near your private lounge, why send me away every time I got close to important guests? Adrian went silent. I looked at the ballroom schedule. Then I saw it. Lily's name had originally been assigned to the private lounge. Mine had been written over hers later. Daniel did not change this. Adrian leaned closer. How do you know? That is not his handwriting. Whose is it? I remembered the catering office. The woman who handled staffing. The one person who had access to every assignment before Daniel arrived. Melissa Grant, the event coordinator. Adrian reached for his phone. I will have her brought in. No. He paused. No. If she thinks you know, she will disappear before you learn anything useful. And what do you suggest? I looked at the monitors, then at the man who had spent his life giving orders nobody questioned. Let her believe everything is still going according to plan. Adrian studied me for several seconds. That could put you in an uncomfortable position. Then asked me if I am willing. Something shifted in his expression. He understood. Claire, are you willing? I smiled despite the knot in my stomach. Yes. Adrian nodded once. Then we do it your way. And that was the moment I realized the balance between us had changed. He still had the hotel, the security team, the money, and the authority. But when everyone else had been looking for someone to blame, I had noticed the detail they missed. And for the first time that night, Adrian Cole was not telling me what happened next. He was waiting for me to tell him. By 11:30, the ballroom had changed. The lights were fully restored, the quartet was playing again, and the guests had returned to their conversations as though nothing unusual had happened. I carried a tray through the crowd and pretended my heart was not beating twice as fast as normal. Melissa Grant stood near the registration table in a navy dress, checking her phone every few seconds. Adrian remained across the room with 2 business associates, giving no indication that he was watching her. Or me. That was the plan. Nothing changed until Melissa believed she was safe. At 11:42, she walked toward the service hallway. I counted to 10 and followed. She entered the catering office and closed the door. I stopped outside. Voices. Melissa was speaking to someone on the phone. The meeting is still scheduled, she said. He does not suspect anything. My stomach tightened. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The waitress was only supposed to distract him. Me. I stepped backward carefully and sent Adrian the message we had agreed on. Confirmed. I expected security to appear immediately. Instead, Adrian arrived alone. He stopped several feet away and looked at me. Are you all right? That was his first question. Not what did she say? Not did you get proof? Me. I am fine. Do you want to leave? I blinked. Now. Yes. But Melissa is inside. I know. And the midnight meeting? Handled. He held my gaze. I am asking about you. There was something strange about hearing that from him. Hours earlier, Adrian had treated decisions like doors only he could open. Now he was standing in a service corridor asking permission. I want to finish this, I said. Then we finish it. Together, we returned to the ballroom. Adrian's security team quietly redirected the midnight meeting to another room while Melissa remained unaware. No confrontation. No spectacle. Just careful questions, security footage, staff records, and enough evidence for Adrian to understand what had happened. Melissa had been passing confidential schedules to people trying to undermine one of Adrian's business deals. Daniel had unknowingly helped by giving her access to staffing records, but he had not been part of her plan. By 12:15, the situation was over. Melissa was escorted from the event and the relevant information was turned over to the appropriate people. I stood near the windows, exhausted. Adrian approached slowly. Your shift ended an hour ago. Technically, you tried to end it 2 hours ago. I remember. You were very annoying. I have been told. I looked at him. By people who still work for you. His mouth curved. Rarely. I laughed before I could stop myself. The sound surprised both of us. Then Adrian became serious. My driver can take you home. I raised an eyebrow. He corrected himself immediately. Would you like my driver to take you home? Better. I am learning. Slowly. He nodded toward the lobby. Or I can call you a cab. Or you can arrange your own ride. Your choice. My choice. 2 ordinary words that somehow meant more after everything that had happened. I will take the car, I said. Adrian walked with me toward the entrance. The rain had softened to a silver mist outside. A black sedan waited beneath the awning. The driver opened the rear door, but I did not get inside immediately. What happens now? I asked. You go home. And tomorrow? Adrian looked at me for a long moment. Tomorrow you wake up and continue your life. I searched his face. That is it. What were you expecting? I do not know. You seem like the kind of man who does not let things go easily. Usually, I am not. He glanced toward the open car door. But I am beginning to understand that keeping someone close means very little if they did not choose to stay. The words settled somewhere deep inside me. I stepped toward the car, then turned back. Adrian. Yes. You still owe me an explanation. His expression softened. I know. When... He looked almost tempted to answer. Instead, he said, whenever you decide you want to hear it. And for the first time all night, the man who could command an entire room left the next move entirely to me. I made it 3 steps toward the open car door before realizing I was about to spend the entire ride home arguing with myself. I stopped. The driver waited patiently. Behind me, Adrian had already turned toward the hotel entrance. Adrian. He looked back immediately. I hated how relieved I felt when he did. I want the explanation now. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he walked back beneath the awning, stopping several feet away. Rain whispered against the pavement beyond us. Are you sure? You told me the next move was mine. It is. Then stop making me work so hard for 4 sentences. That faint smile appeared. Come inside. I narrowed my eyes. Adrian corrected himself. Would you like to come inside? Much better. We returned to the quiet lobby and sat near the windows where we had talked during the outage. The gala was ending upstairs. Somewhere above us, glasses were being collected, flowers removed, expensive decorations reduced to boxes. Adrian rested his hands together. Earlier tonight, before you overheard me, one of my associates asked whether the catering staff near the private lounge should be reassigned. I waited. Why? Because certain guests were arriving, and he believed the staff should blend into the background. My stomach tightened. Adrian continued. Then you walked past. I remembered that moment. The tray. The half-open door. His voice. He asked if you should be moved. And you said I was too big. Adrian held my gaze. Yes. I folded my arms. You are doing a terrible job explaining this. Because you left before I finished. I went still. Adrian looked toward the rain-darkened windows as though reconstructing the conversation. He asked if I was sure. I said absolutely. Then he asked what I meant. Adrian looked back at me. I told him you were too big to disappear into a room like that. My arms slowly lowered. What? I was not talking about your body, Claire. I was talking about your presence. I could hear my heartbeat. You did not even know me. I had been watching you for 20 minutes. That sounds slightly alarming when you say it out loud. I am aware. Despite myself, I smiled. Adrian continued. Everyone in that ballroom was trying to be noticed. Expensive clothes. Loud conversations. Important names. Then there was you, carrying champagne and behaving as though none of their status impressed you. I remembered defending Lily. That happened later. I noticed you before that. His voice softened. You thanked the kitchen staff every time you collected a tray. You moved an elderly guest's chair without making him feel embarrassed for needing help. You gave Lily your dinner because she missed her break. I stared at him. I had not known anyone notice those things. My associate wanted someone invisible near the lounge, Adrian said. I told him not you. Because I was too big. Because you were too big to ignore. There it was. The missing piece. All evening I had carried those first words like a stone, never realizing I had walked away before hearing what came after them. I looked down at my hands. I feel ridiculous. Do not. I judged you based on half a conversation. You reacted to something that had hurt you before. He paused, and I should have understood sooner why those words mattered. I looked at him. No defensiveness. No attempt to make me feel foolish. Just recognition. You really meant presence? Claire, you challenged a wealthy donor, corrected me repeatedly, identified something my own people missed, and somehow taught me to ask permission in the space of 5 hours. The corner of his mouth lifted. Presence might be an understatement. I laughed softly. Then silence returned, warmer this time. So what happens now? I asked. Adrian did not answer immediately. He simply looked at me, then toward the waiting car outside. Now, he said, you decide whether this conversation ends here. And for once, I knew exactly what I wanted my answer to be. I looked at Adrian and realized the answer had nothing to do with staying in that hotel. It was about whether I wanted to leave believing this night had been an accident, or admit that something had changed between us. I do not want the conversation to end here, I said. Adrian became very still. What do you want? It was such a simple question, but 5 hours earlier he would never have asked it. He would have decided. Arranged. Controlled. Now he waited. Coffee, I said. His eyebrows lifted. Coffee. Tomorrow. Somewhere normal. No ballroom. No private lounge. No security office. No people calling you Mr. Cole every 30 seconds. I know a place. Of course you do. Is that a yes? That depends. Are you going to reserve the entire restaurant? I was considering it. Then no. He smiled. A real smile this time. It changed his entire face. One table. Public place. No special treatment. Now you are learning. The next afternoon, Adrian met me at a small coffee shop in Greenwich Village. He arrived alone. No tailored charcoal suit. No room full of people adjusting themselves around him. Just a dark sweater, black coat, and the slightly uncomfortable expression of a man discovering that waiting in line was apparently part of ordinary life. I made him wait. Not intentionally. The subway stalled for 12 minutes. When I finally walked inside, he was sitting beside the window with 2 coffees. You ordered for me? I asked. He immediately looked concerned. Was I supposed to ask? I laughed. Relax. I am teasing you. He exhaled. This is more difficult than negotiating business contracts. Good. I sat across from him. We talked for 2 hours. Not about secret meetings or hotel security. About ordinary things. My classes. My mother. His terrible habit of answering emails before sunrise. The neighborhood where he grew up. The books he pretended he had time to read. Adrian listened more than he spoke. And when he disagreed with me, he did something I had not expected. He explained instead of commanded. Weeks passed. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became walks through Central Park when the weather warmed. I kept my catering job. I stayed in school. Adrian never offered to solve my bills after I made it clear that I did not want my independence turned into a gift. Sometimes he slipped back into old habits. I arranged a car for you, he would say. I would raise an eyebrow. Would you like a car? He would correct himself. Progress. Months later, I worked another event at the Grand Meridian. Same chandeliers. Same marble floors. Same kind of people trying desperately to look important. Adrian arrived halfway through the evening. The room changed around him exactly as it had before. Conversations softened. People noticed. But he did not look at them. He found me across the ballroom. I was carrying a tray again, wearing the same black uniform, occupying exactly as much space as I always had. This time, I did not wonder what he thought when he looked at me. I knew. After my shift, we stood beneath the hotel awning where the rain had once separated our worlds. You know what is strange? I asked. What? That first night. I thought the lesson was going to be about learning not to care what you thought of me. Adrian smiled slightly. And was it? No. I looked up at him. It was learning that I never needed to become smaller for anyone to value me. His expression softened. I could have told you that. You tried. Your wording needed work. He laughed. Then he offered his hand instead of simply taking mine. I looked at it for a second before choosing to place my hand in his. Adrian Cole had spent most of his life becoming powerful enough that no room could overlook him. But power was never what changed us. Choice did. He learned that caring about someone did not give him ownership of her decisions. I learned that being noticed was not the same as being judged. And somewhere between those two lessons, the man who once ruled every room with silence discovered the one thing he could never command. Me. He did not need to. I chose him.